Hello guys, and welcome to a new WARNO video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you a 10 versus 10 on Rift, and I'm going to be playing with the 56th Air Assault. So today I wanted to share this replay with you guys because it shows off a little bit of a different way to play with this division. Rift is a map that I wouldn't have suspected the 56th can deal with pretty well. But you can see here the abundance of T-62s that I'm bringing in from the start. So I'm bringing all 6 of my T-62 MDs. And the reason that I'm bringing these is because they have the Bastion missile. And the Bastion missile has the 2,800 meter range with pretty decent accuracy, in this case 65% due to their veterancy. So I'm going to be trying to use those at range to engage enemy armored vehicles and maintain the center of the map. I wasn't sure that this would work too well, but because the T-62s aren't such a high priority target like things like the T-82s and other like heavier tanks that cost a lot more, they're a lot less prone to being hit by airstrikes in a 10v10 scenario, allowing me to use their ATGMs to great effect. So you can see Clementine here going to be opposing me today with the M1A1HA Abrams. Now on paper, the M1A1HA is an exceptionally strong tank with its 22 penetration, 21 front armor, with the 2,275 meter range. Now the T-62 only has 14 front armor and only 2,100 meter range on its main gun. But with the 2,800 meter range on the Bastion missile, you can see they're able to engage these Abrams without being shot at, which is really, really handy. Now, in the front armor of these M1A1HAs, we're only going to be doing 1 damage. But the big thing on top of that is the cohesion. And the cohesion here has dropped right down for the M1A1HA, lowering its rate of fire, lowering its accuracy, allowing the T-62s to move forwards relatively easily. Now the Kiowa here could potentially be a problem. That does have Hellfire missiles, but we do have the 2 Spetsnaz GRU that I've deployed further up early on. So we're going to be screening with recon, and then I'll have the T-62s spread out nicely so that they can engage these tanks from multiple directions, and hopefully we can get a side shot after that. Smash coming in here from Vector, doing very nicely. Plenty of damage onto that M1A1 and takes out the leader. That leader did manage to cap the center, so we're going to have to bring something to cap it back. My Chaika moved over to the left side for the time being to help contest here. But Saktos does have the BMP here, so I have a chance to move that back. We'll see on the backside I am bringing in an MI6. That's going to be landing here and providing extra supply. My plan was to have the Urals driving back to the MI6s to resupply themselves, and then I could bring that supply forwards in order to keep the T-62s topped up with ATGMs. And that way I can continue to engage any of these tanks at range. Now one big problem for me that Clementine is kind of taking advantage of a little bit is the use of these ATGM squads. Now because my T-62s only have 2,100 meter range, engaging an ATGM squad like this is going to require me to move quite far forwards, and in that time the ITO will have plenty of shots on target. So I'm going to have to invest into artillery in order to take care of those, and you can see that the Grad is up to the job here. Now you just got to admire this map. I love the way it looks. If I just zoom in enough that it removes the UI, check out that in the distance. WARNO is so beautiful, and this map in particular really accentuates the lighting. Really, really nice. As you can see though, the rocket's coming down, looking for the ITO kill. The ITO does end up moving just out of the circle there, so that grad strike not going to be completely effective, and I do cancel it so that I maintain the last 11 rockets so that they can maybe fire elsewhere. Meanwhile, Burdened helping me out with the MO24V. Those Iglas land on target with the help of the Stinger. We managed to shoot down that Apache. The Hellfires and ATGMs of stuff that the T-62s can't fire back at are the big problem here. So I'm really hoping that a rocket can finish off the Ito. Unfortunately, the last 11 weren't enough to finish it off, but at least it continues to retreat. The M1A1HAs are going to try and move up and take out this Conquest on the left-hand side, but they're going to get hit by a lot of other ATGMs in the meantime. The other beautiful thing about the ATGMs from these T-62s is they actually have pretty high velocity. They move very fast, and that allows you to catch out enemy tanks in the side armor particularly well. Now at the start of the game, things not doing too great as a team. We are 500 plus points behind. But I'm hoping to get my Chaika into the backside of this sector so that we can stop the +1 tick from the enemy. Now, I do have to watch out for this artillery. I don't want the artillery to kill off my T-62. The M90 I'm able to take out with the ATGM, so we do that nice and quickly. Now on the backside here, I also have the exceptional optic Afghansky. That's going to provide me with extra recon. One problem that the 56 does have is its infantry don't have GSR trait. GSR is just super useful, especially on infantry. I think actually only infantry can get it, but basically it provides them with the recon they need to spot things far away, and when you're using an ATGM strategy like this, that's super important. So one reason that this is actually working pretty well right now is because Clementine has all of their forces invested into like a few expensive units, where I've got mine spread out into multiple cheaper units. And what that allows me to do is kind of spread my line thinner and therefore potentially find side shots. And where I'm not finding side shots, as I mentioned before, cohesion is still a problem. And that's a side shot, 4 damage, very nice indeed. That side shot on the backside there, every time that this happens, Clementine has to fall back and repair. And whilst they are repairing, I'm going to be able to reload my ATGMs. I'm going to be able to continue to maintain control over the center. So the main way in which Clementine could deal with this is if they invested into more M1A1s over time, so basically make sure that these stay alive, then invest into more over time, that they can match 1-to-1 my T-62s, or they could get their team to help with airstrikes or something and actually focus down the T-62 MDs, because the 56th Air Assault gets a very limited amount of these. You know, all 6 I brought in at the start is the only 6 that we have. So I'm trying to be extremely careful not to overcommit them during this game and maintain that range control. It's also nice that I do have my teammates firing that cluster artillery, because one of the M1A1s did get wiped out there. So we're on to the +1. We're managing to contest into this sector. We're also soon going to be contesting on the right. So things starting to go pretty well. My Grads are firing away into the distance, trying to just make sure that I take out any ATGMs that are hiding here and anything else that may be using that tree line for cover. The main thing for me is just making sure that this artillery isn't killing my T-62s, because I am keeping a lot of them out in the open, and where possible I'm trying not to. So for example, here on the left side we've got them both in the tree lines, but here it's kind of difficult because I don't want them all in the same tree line, because otherwise artillery from the opposing side becomes even more effective. So Grad's firing away again, this time smashing this tree line, and you can hear the enemy troops taking damage. And that's good, because as I mentioned, if there's any ATGMs in there, it's going to be difficult for my T-62s to deal with, and therefore they need to get hit by those Grads. There's another Ito here, most likely another one further to the right. I did have to smoke off this one, but as soon as they fall back, the Ural's going to give them more smoke. That's the other thing that's super important here. It's not necessarily the ATGMs that need to be topped up, it's also the smoke, because defensively these T-62s need to be able to keep themselves alive, particularly against airstrikes that I was potentially worried about throughout the game, but so far has not taken place. So very, very nasty fight over on the left-hand side. The Bradleys trying to push back the infantry here. Flames everywhere. We do have a KD-8 in the form of Vector. Vector was also provided that smoke fire earlier. Going full MLRS in this one. Here comes the artillery again. T-62 immediately retreating. Is giving a chance for our team to counter battery. Again, smoking off to make sure the ITO doesn't hit the mark. If you smoke too late, there is a chance that the ATGM will still hit you. It really depends how far it was from the tank when you smoked. There, I just about got away with it in time. I don't want these ITOs to hit me because I've only got 14 front armor, so that's going to do a decent chunk of damage. My T-62 managing to hit the M1A1. I will take that, thank you very much. So, now that I've used up one of the MI6s, that's going to be coming back to Yag's FOB. The 56th Air Assault doesn't get their own FOB, so you are reliant on your teams. Just be aware that if you're not playing with people specifically, that maybe you want to ask before you start draining someone's FOB, because it can be annoying if they are using it for their own artillery, for example. But in this case, Yag, he plays with me regularly, so he was happy about me using his FOB, I hope. Lovely chance for a grad strike here. Big push coming in onto this tree line, and the Grad's gonna smash them to pieces. Infantry going down, the tank going down. The Chinook just landed and dropped some infantry in there, but they're all being hit as well. So that's certainly gonna help our teammates here on the right hand side, Blamer and Forrest. Prevent that from making any ground. Meanwhile, we're continuing to hold on to the center. I've also invested in the 240mm cluster mortars. These are absolutely superb, and they are really, really good for punishing your opponent when they stop moving their heavy armor around. So in this case, Clementine with the M1A1 just sat there out in the open. On a map like Rift, it's going to happen quite a lot where you have these tanks sort of sat out in the open, same as I do. And so I'm able to take advantage of that with these 240mm clusters. And you can see I am going to put them on return fire, so they both fire at the same time. Because you've basically got one shot to get surprise on your enemy, and then your enemy is most likely going to move straight after. So they are both ready to fire, and there they go. The shot's coming through. And boom goes the M1A1 Abrams. Super, super strong artillery. Make sure you load them up afterwards, move them after a single shot. And they are going to be incredibly difficult to counter battery as well. So the way that I've got to play this is I've got to try and stop Clementine from building up enough Abrams that they can match my T-62s 1-for-1. And in doing so, I'll be able to, prevent them from just kind of charging through my lines. And then Clementine's got to do the opposite. Well, they've got to try and build up enough M1A1 HAs that they can just charge into the T-62s and take the shots at range. Like, that would be the way to do it. Or at least, match it up with some artillery that they can also get on target at the same time. So now I'm focusing on trying to hit the M1A1 HA. One thing I will actually like to say, oh, look at that in the background, that's so cool, is when you use these 240mm mortars, be aware that sometimes the Kraz, because it's such a big truck, it gets in the way of the 240mm aligning, and therefore they don't actually, follow the order that you gave them. And it can be quite frustrating sometimes. So a good tip is to when you use the unload at position order, just make sure you do like a shift move order for the Krazes afterwards. So now we got the Abrams pushing forwards again, and a lovely side shot there from the T-62, takes out the M1A1HA. Another one coming into the side of the M1A1 Abrams, another one smashing the HA. And the big mistake here from Clementine is sort of consolidating all of these into the same position. So having all three just right next to each other, it makes it very, very easy for me to get these side shots in, and it's difficult to dodge because the Bastion missile is so fast. So the M1A1 gets out of there, the Abrams CP, but lost two M1A1HAs. You've got to keep them spread out best you can. Now, of course, it's easier said than done. You know, my teammates are also here with their own Bastions. For example, with the BMP3s, they've got Bastion ATGMs, there's Conquer's ATGMs on the left-hand side, so trying to spread out might cause those M1A1s to get hit more by those ATGMs, but then it just comes down to doing the same thing that I was doing, targeting the immobile ATGM units with artillery. In this case, my grads are trying to kill the snipers. Taking out the snipers is important just to keep my enemy blinded and make sure that my own recon is not being spotted so I don't get blinded. I've also brought up a BMP-2D on the right-hand side. I actually brought this up and then forgot about it, so it kind of sat there with the leader in it for a while, and Forrest was forced to bring up his own TATPVK. My bad. But here go the cluster 240 mils again, and I was making a prediction that that M1A1 fell back to that tree line, and I was correct. The M1A1 goes down to those cluster mortars very, very nicely indeed. Brad's here trying to get them on target, hoping that I can kill off the Ito or the Stinger. Clementine actually doing a pretty good job of keeping these moving around, but I'm able to clip the edge of that. Clusters firing away again. Actually managed to hit a second target here. The Hermit goes down next to that Abrams. Stinger going to get taken out by the Grad as well. And now both of those are used up. Back to the MI6 we go. And making sure I use my artillery effectively in this game is also extremely important. Letting my cluster mortars fire 3 times there was definitely a bit of a waste. Also very, very risky for counter-battery purposes. Now, you might also notice that I'm now using a Chiker to escort those 240mm mortars. Now, the best way to do that is to make sure that the recon vehicle, or sorry, the command vehicle, is on a follow order of one of the transports, not of the actual artillery piece itself. So that when your artillery is loading and unloading, the command unit's still staying nearby. You'll see that's on a fast move follow order. In order to do a follow order, just in case anyone's not aware, the way that you do it is you select a unit and then right click another unit for normal order, normal follow order. If you want to do a fast move follow order, then you press fast move and then right click the enemy unit or friendly unit. And yeah, you can do that with a lot of orders, to be honest. You can do like an attack move follow order, I believe. Actually, you might not be able to do an attack move follow order now I think about it. Maybe. But the main one that I usually do is just like a normal right click follow order or a fast move follow order. Usually you don't want to use a follow order on the front line because auto spacing can make your units do funny things, where if say this T-62 was following this T-62 and they got too close together, then they'd try to auto space, and basically the unit that's being followed will want to try and get away from the unit that's following it, and they will just show side armor whilst trying to move away. And yeah, that can basically get you killed. Here going for the 240mm cluster onto enemy artillery, really hoping for a bit of a miracle shot there, but not able to hit the mark. Friendly counter battery already coming in. So yeah, every time I'm moving the Krazes, the Chiker's just following along. And my grads are moving after every shot as well. So we're on the +3 now, as our team did manage to secure the tree line on the far right. We're still maintaining the center. We're killing enough of Clementine's tanks to make them not want to push forwards, basically. And on the left side here, things are being contested backwards and forwards. Grim Guy doing a good job of controlling that far left sector with ND's help. So Spetsnaz here going to be able to engage the Apache ATAS, so I do let them fire at it. They do manage to get a shot, which is going to stop that from landing any Hellfires anytime soon. I'm also taking the opportunity to get a Ural up to reload the Spetsnaz here. But that's going to be the sniper gun, just making sure that I get rid of that recon again so that they don't end up hitting my own recon with artillery. And this is how you manage these sort of more open range engagements. It's all about recon and artillery, and then the units that you're using to actually support your front line. So recon to spot their threatening units that my base units can't deal with, then using artillery to destroy those units, and then using the T-62s to engage the rest. 240 mils waiting and ready to fire again, this time towards the left side here, looking to kill off the M1A1HA. Actually, that's just a standard M1A1 leader variant. BM21s reloading again. Yeah, I brought over an MI6, another MI6 to make sure that those are topped off. These grads do get through a decent amount of supply if you're using them from pretty early on. In the middle, I'm going to be investing in more Strela-10Ms because I was really starting to worry that our opponent's team might start dropping airstrikes on my T-62s. But I think the main reason that they weren't being focused by airstrike is, as I mentioned before, where they're not particularly high priority targets at only 160 points each. So people tend to not engage them as much as they would a T-80 or a T-62BB. Or T-64 BB, sorry. Mortars Vedka also coming up. I did lose my Spetsnaz GRU, so I'm going to be replacing those in that right side tree clump. And my leader on the right is now unloaded, just in case the T-80 BBK gets taken out. We're maintaining the +1. And things are going pretty well for our team. And anytime I'm seeing a tank on this left-hand side, I'm now focusing them down with the 240mm cluster, just to try and help out with this engagement. Brad's also going to be firing away, mashing the Bradley and any infantry that they dropped off. And I'm also going to be hitting the engineers here. I actually ended up cancelling that because ND was pushing forwards quite aggressively. But that M1A1 Abrams in a bad spot, also getting clipped by the Grad strike. Right side's now full capped completely. Mid's capped. Left side's capped. And now we're going to be looking to contest this Charlie sector. MiG-27 looking for its targets. Manages to finish off the Apache. Gets hit by a Stinger on the way out. Otherwise pretty lucky. And the Eugen firing away, 240 mils, getting ready to pounce. Again, the M1A1 being left out in the open. Good chance for me to engage that with the 240mm. Now, ideally, you do want to have these at closer range, particularly if you're using the HE variant. Having these at closer range is a good idea. But it's really the T-62s in this game that helped us control the middle. They're such cool models. Look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. They're getting ready to go. They're both holding fire. The M1A1 moved its position. That's why I moved the T-62s forwards. So my plan here was to hit this M1A1 with some ATGMs, have it fall back, and then unleash the mortars if it fell back to the same or similar place to where it was before. Unfortunately, not quite going to be the case. But the T-62MD is still hitting it and taking that M1A1 down to 1 health. Nice artillery, just killing off the Stinger in the open as well. Now re-aiming the 240s. I didn't end up firing them. And you can see over here the MI6 moving back to get some more supply. Constantly ferrying backwards and forwards from YAG sources, FOB. I guess it's technically an FSP, but yeah. Nice ammo dump at the back there. I was surprised the corner of this wasn't actually getting hit by artillery. Usually somebody would try to hit that. I've got a BMP-2D now coming up to provide a leader to contest Charlie. And I've got the grads here that can potentially hit anything that's in our way. I didn't want to move the T-62s from the mid because they'd been doing such a good job so far on the ranged engagement. T-80s doing very well. These had their ATGMs turned off, so they engaged the challengers with their guns. Those challengers keep creeping through the smoke there, but not really hitting accurately enough. Oh, that's really, really rough for those Challenger 2s. One of them taking a side shot was already low regardless. Unfortunately for me, while this is going on, my recon is getting hit by that artillery. But these Challenger 2s in a real tough spot. Their cohesion super low. The T-80 is just going to continue pounding them with their auto loaders. That is really, really rough for Epic there. McGrad's fired away, and we ended up taking out the units here. That's going to allow me to get my leader in here, just to capture that for our team. The Sprut at close range doing loads of damage. It's such a nice AT gun. 23 penetration. The big boy, that's for sure. 125mm gun. Decent rate of fire as well. 9 round per minute rate of fire. If you get in range of one of those, make sure you get out of it nice and quick. So yeah, these 240s, thanks to the leadership, actually able to, change target pretty quickly and aim pretty much faster than they usually would. My leader here being used offensively to take care of the National Guard. They've got the BMP fire support behind them. We've also got 2 more T-62s. Now these ones, the T-62 MD1, they don't have the ATGM. So they have to actually close range in order to be effective at the 2,100 meters. I brought them up here just to support the leader as they move into that sector, and I've got an Afghansky here with the exceptional optics. It's going to be able to provide some makeshift AA as well as the recon that I need. We're on the +4, 6 minutes to go. The range in the middle still controlled very nicely. The Exorcist's pushes on my right flank definitely made it a lot harder for Clementine to make any ground. And that's then allowed me to focus elsewhere with my artillery, and in this case with my leader. But the leader does get spotted here, is going to come under fire. No real chance for that to run away, as it does get stunned. I don't think I really noticed it under fire either. The T-62s now helping engage. My grads are firing away again. Just smashing the units that would be potentially in that tree line. Like either damaging them so that they have to be repaired again before they push, or just straight up trying to kill them off. So T-62 is making a little bit of a push. The Afghansky waiting to move up. The 240 is ready to engage any armor that's hidden in this tree line. I was trying to keep an eye out for good places to engage with the 240, but at some points I was just kind of guessing where they might be, just so that the 240s were never really like not firing. Oh, here, look at this. Absolutely smashing the Abrams to pieces in the middle. Bastions from all sides, just annihilating them. But again, it's the concentration all in one area that makes them so easy for my ATGMs to pick off. Now, if you ever want to play on an open map like this and you have units that use Bastion ATGMs, you could probably even do this with BMP3s. Just BMP3s on their own. Oh, Afghansky here getting into range of the National Guard Apache. Blasting away. Apache ripped out of the sky, taking down another nice kill for us. T-62 MD1 forced to smoke off as the Bradley did land an ATGM on target, hoping that my T-62 can at least land a shot before it gets hit itself. The Bradley here is on lower cohesion, so I was hoping that I'd be able to just pop it, and the BMP-2D got the job done with the Conkers, so that was nice. So we're managing to continue to contest this. T-62s here, they do need fixing up of course, so I'm going to bring up a Euro. But they're able to continue in the meantime. These two firing over towards the tanks that were hidden back here. No luck really on that strike. They weren't very centered. Otherwise the helmet might have gone down. And this Abrams that tried to push forwards again got hit by all those ATGMs. On the right hand side they're continuing to hold things back. BMP-2s move forwards and taking care of the PVADs. Just letting those cluster fire again. We're in such a good spot right now that there's no real reason not to. And we saw the Abrams sort of fall back into that location, so could have been a good chance we hit that. BMP-2 making good ground. This MI6, it's been used once to resupply. Probably could have used that a little bit more, but at the moment the Euro's just kind of driving around, providing more ammo to these T-62 MDs. And you can see that I have all 6 of these T-62 MDs still alive, which is why they've continued to have troubles in the center. But as I mentioned, any packed division that has access to tanks with Bastions or even the BMP-3s, you can do this with on an open map. Even if it's a division that doesn't look like it should be able to deal with open ground on paper. So here comes another big push. They've put down a smoke wall. They're bringing up the M1A1s. Using smoke is the other good way to deal with this, which I hadn't mentioned yet. If you just like smoke in front of the tanks themselves, it can become much easier to deal with. But yeah, at this point in the game, there's a lot of aircraft, and these poor Abrams get absolutely minced. My artillery is hitting this road, so all these reinforcements are going to get hit, and any that are falling back are going to get hit by the ATGMs because the smoke's cleared. And just like that, absolutely ruined that final push into the center of the map. T8 even coming in with the Vickers missile there. And now Bradley's moving forwards, and whilst these Bradleys do have TOW 2s, Bastion has longer range. In the side armor, one shot in the front armor leaves them on 1 health, making them a lot less effective. We're getting loads of damage done here. Good concerted effort by the enemy team to try and make a push and a play, but at this point, let's look at all the ATGMs flying across the open. It's become way too much throughout, and that's going to be victory. It's a really fun game using the 56th to range control the center, and I ended up with an absolutely ridiculous KD. 4,580 kills to 340 losses, 13.47 KD, and the main losses were to enemy artillery on my recon units that are a bit less mobile, but the T-62s just doing fantastically well. The M1A1HA Abrams going down there, the National Guard M1, the Grads, of course, really helping out, particularly with units like these TOW 2 and the ITO, the super important kills for these Grads. And then otherwise, I was just aiming at Stingers and recon squads. Otherwise, we also did manage to get a little bit of counter battery going on the left-hand side. The 240mm cluster, taking out an M1A1, taking out the Abrams CP. Actually didn't get too many kills throughout this game, but certainly kept applying pressure and dealing damage throughout. And on the left there, that BMP-2 just ripping through the left side defenses. Really good. But that is it for today. Yeah, pretty solid game. Was definitely sort of convinced that this division could play out in the open due to those tanks. And on a 10v10, it works out nicely. So there you go. Another strategy for you guys to try in those more open maps. But that's it for now. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.